What's good, YouTube, and welcome back to another tutorial. By the end of this video, if you're new to the channel, please be sure to hit that like button and hit that subscribe button, because I'm sure you're gonna want to. So let's go ahead and get right into the video. To begin this haircut, we want to make sure we pick out the hair. As you guys can see right here, I'm picking out the hair to make sure everything's sticking up. So my go-to length for all my wavers, or majority of them, is either between the 1.5 guard with the lever closed or the number 1 guard with the lever open. So for this client, I went ahead and I went with the 1.5 guard closed, and I just followed his wave pattern, debulking his entire head. To begin my high taper, I start at the lowest point of his hairline, and I just bring a diagonal line almost to the top of his ear, and that's going to give us our first guideline. Then we're going to grab our clipper with the lever open using no guard, going up about a whole inch from that bottom guideline we just created, making sure to keep everything neat and consistent, making sure to go over the same spot to achieve that neat and clean look. Moving on, we're going to put our number 1 guard with the lever open, doing the exact same step, going up a whole inch from that second guideline we just created, making sure to keep everything neat and consistent. Now that we have both of those guidelines in place, in order to take out that middle line that we just created, we're going to use our 0.5 guard with the lever halfway, just consistently flicking at that line until we see that line fade away. Now that we have our first half of the fade done, we're going to jump to the number 2 guard and debulk the top of the fade. Moving about 1 inch down from that number 2 debulk, we're going to use the 1.5 guard halfway, and we're just going to debulk that area. Reminder, it was an inch down from that number 2 debulk that we just did. Moving down another inch, we're going to use our number 1 guard with the lever halfway as well to take out that last dark line that we see. Notice how I'm using the corners of the blade, guys. We don't need to dig too deep into these areas, so please be mindful of using the corner of your blade. Now we're about to finish out the fade. Guys, to me, this last line right here is the most important. This will actually make or break your haircut. We want to make sure that we take this last line completely out. And in order to do so, we're going to play with the lever open, halfway, and close, consistently flicking at that line, moving down on the fade as you close the lever. Take notice to how I'm using the corner of the blades, being very precise at attacking that line, because I don't want to dig too deep and take a risk of attacking the wrong area. Notice how I'm using the corner of my blades, being very precise. At this point, I'm actually detailing the fade at some of the darker areas that I see, using the corner of my blades at this point with the lever all the way open. Now, following those exact same steps, we're going to apply those to the back of his head and to the other side. Alright guys, so right here I'm just applying some mousse into his hair so I can brush it in and lay his waves down for him. Right here is a service I do believe that if you don't already, I think you should try to add this into your service, especially for your wavers, just to help them out. Plus it helps the barber as well with a more crispy lining when it's time to line it up. So my client did want his beard cut down, so I took the biggest guard I had, which was the number 6 guard, with the lever closed, and I just went with the grain along his beard to take everything down and debulk it for him. When it comes to fading the tip of the beard, it's the exact same steps that you use when fading his high taper. We're gonna start by putting the guideline right at the middle of his earlobe, and from there we're gonna start with the lever open, only taking off about 1 inch going down on the beard. Still going downwards on the beard, we're gonna use our number 1 guard, taking off another inch. After that, about 1.5 inches down on the fade, I took the number 2 guard just to debulk it and kind of blend it to the bottom of the beard. Then I grabbed the 1.5 guard, moving up 1 inch of the fade just to flick at that line. Using the number 1 guard, we're gonna move up another inch on the fade just to take out that line and fade that line a little better. And I forgot to use the 0.5 guard earlier, so that's what I'm using right now to take out that last line in the middle of the fade, in the middle of the beard, I'm sorry. And lastly, to take out that last line, we're gonna play with the lever. Make sure we're open, closing, and putting it halfway, going up and down in that area, making sure to stay in that area, and to also detail with the corner of your blades as well. So my client likes to keep his beard as high as possible naturally. So I go in with the trimmers first to kind of knock off the excess hairs that I see above the natural line of his beard, right before I go behind it with the blade for a more detailed line. I also made sure to knock down his mustache using the number 1 guard with the lever open right before I line it up. And at this point, I'm about to line up his whole beard so you guys can just watch. And this part is going to take a lot of practice. It's going to take a lot of patience. So just kind of watch how precise and how detailed I move with my clipper, making sure not to turn my clipper and hit another part of his beard on accident. So just pay attention to those mechanisms that I'm using and the style that I'm cutting. So remember earlier when I told you I used the mousse to lay his hair down and to also give us a more crispy lining, you'll notice that once I take the do-rag off, none of his hairs are moving. It's almost like using spritz, but you can't really lay spritz across someone's whole hair. So I use a wet product that I know can dry and mold the hair down so the hairs don't move out of place when it's time to line it up. And because I do it that way, you can also notice how sharp and how clean my lines are. So I would definitely advise you guys to try that and try to add that into your service. Once I have my natural line in there, I want to make sure that I go behind it with the razor, just to make sure that when the enhancements does wipe off, he's still able to see a very, very crispy line. So with the razor, we're going to be able to achieve the crispiest line right before we put enhancements on it. Remember guys, enhancements is a want, never a need. So you want to make sure that when the day comes that the enhancement has to come off, that doesn't mean his hairline has to look any different. And now I'm just doing detail work on shaping up his beard, catching any loose hairs that I see. And he wanted me to put some enhancements on his beard as well. So I went ahead and hooked him up with that. There you guys have it, high taper with beard. If you found this video helpful, please be sure to hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and let me know any thoughts, concerns, comments, questions that you have about anything that you heard or seen in this video. I'll be glad to answer it. And if you're new to the channel, please be sure to hit that subscribe button and stay tuned for my next video.